There is no feeling like when your team gets a star player in the draft and the expectations of a Super Bowl are in your sights. But when these certain stars don't shine as brightly as we expect, they end up crashing down to earth. Today, we're going to talk about NFL players that flickered out early and ruined their careers. Let's get right at it. One of the most famous guys on our list, you know him very well, Johnny Manziel. After reaching national recognition and fame at Texas and A&M, Johnny Manziel quickly became a celebrity. Johnny Football, as we all called him, went all the way up into the stratosphere in just one season of college football. Before joining the NFL, he was already established as a high school football legend. He came from a long line of athletes, and when he later arrived on the scene at Texas and A&M, his competitive fire and will to win would serve him extremely well. Manziel quickly became the most dominant quarterback in college football. His scrambling ability and out-of-pocket play earned him a reputation of being one of the most dangerous players on the field. Once he earned a starting role playing at Texas and A&M's inaugural season in the SEC, this dude was as successful as anyone could have hoped for. And then, setting new conference records for most total yards in a season, and on his way to becoming the first freshman ever to win the Heisman Trophy. He was shattering about every record that was standing for a quarterback in Texas A&M. Now, fast forward to the NFL draft. Once drafted into the NFL with a top pick by the Cleveland Browns, Johnny Manziel got thrown into the fire and went to where most franchise quarterbacks go to die, Cleveland. Once he was in the NFL, he was not able to translate well at all. He didn't have the fundamentals or desire to succeed as a pocket passer. The media had continued to reinforce to him one thing, that he could do whatever he wanted.
And do it as long as he doesn't bring embarrassment to the Browns and the organization.
That's one thing that always plagued Johnny Manziel's career. It was his treatment of football as anything more than just a game for fun that he loved playing. He never seemed to have that ambition and fire to really go after the changes he needed to do to adapt into the NFL. The media was infamous for dogpiling on Manziel at the drop of a hat whenever he would do something wrong. But you know what? He was giving them plenty of ammo. Johnny Manziel just couldn't seem to avoid the headlines. He only threw for a total of 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions with a 2-4 record as a starter. Look, that's not the worst ever, but that is nothing close to what you're expecting out of a top-round pick in its second year. Not only did Manziel struggle to stay consistent on the field, but off-the-field controversy never seemed to leave his side for too long. That October, he'd be investigated for a domestic dispute, and the team additionally had a video surfacing of him partying during a team's bye week. After being ruled out of the season's final game, he was spotted partying again the night before. This clearly showed that no matter what the wake-up call was, he had not received it, and he was not going to respond for himself or the team. Nothing helped this man give up the lifestyle of the rich and famous and really focus on the game. After a chain of domestic violence allegations that surfaced in the next coming weeks would be the final straw for the Browns. For as quickly as Johnny Manziel rose to the top as a college football star and the highest expectations in the NFL, this guy also crashed as loudly as any of them could have. Johnny Manziel has been reported getting back into other football leagues and is working out again, hopefully getting on top of his drug and alcohol addiction and returning for his passion for the football game. Ray Rice. The Ravens selected Ray Rice in a draft class that was deep at running back, and they got themselves an excellent production back. Ray Rice broke out in 2009 during his second year with the Ravens. The Ravens were expecting productivity out of their new back. In that season, Ray rushed for over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career and also made the Pro Bowl and his first playoff game there as well. For the next several years, the Ravens would continue to be a force in the AFC. The Ravens will continue to make playoff runs, And Ray was always a key contributor for that squad, averaging 61 receptions in about 500 yards downfield as well. That's a crazy amount of production. And in 2012, after another deep playoff run for them, they finally landed the Lombardi Trophy when the Ravens win the Super Bowl 47. Remember the Har Bowl? That was a wild Super Bowl, folks. Also had Colin Kaepernick in there. This is before Colin Kaepernick and Ray Rice had yet to reach their moments that would eventually define their careers. Following their Super Bowl victory, Ray Rice was a media darling. This man could do no wrong. And it's pretty well documented that Ray Rice was actually extremely careful about how people saw him, and his image was extremely important to him. This man was the milk mustache guy at one point, attached to numerous charitable organizations helping youths and homeless individuals. That's what made what happened next the most difficult. Ray Rice became embroiled in a controversy amid the 2014 offseason when a horrible video surfaced of him physically attacking his then fiancée. This horrible video was enough evidence to result in him being indicted for aggravated assault. Following the indictment, Ray was released by the Ravens and suspended indefinitely by the NFL. Although Rice would eventually be reinstated, he successfully appealed the league's decision. The controversy around the quality of character of his individual personality was now under a microscope, and no team would touch him with a 10-foot pole. There's no doubt that he certainly had some more left in the tank. But because of this terrible event, he is now one of the most infamous cases of players who ruined their careers in the NFL. Peyton Hillis. If this list was a lot longer, I'm sure there would be a lot more Browns on here, but here's another one for you. After a mediocre season with the Denver Broncos, where he was drafted, Peyton Hillis was then traded to the Cleveland Browns for Brady Quinn and a conditional pick in the 2011 draft. When Hillis was sent to the Browns in 2010, the Browns did not improve. Actually, statistically, they were ranked second to last in almost every category, and they stacked up abysmal numbers. Except for Peyton. At 240 pounds, he terrorized opponents. Fans didn't even know who this guy was, and he had quickly become the most popular name on the team. There was a week in the NFL spotlight surrounding Cleveland over one of the most shocking games that people can remember involving the Browns and the Patriots. Peyton Hillis was the star of that game, racking up some of his best numbers of the entire season. Browns end up trouncing the New England Patriots by more than 20 points, which is like the first time in 125 games for New England at that point. It was the best season he ever had, finishing with over 1,000 yards on the ground and double-digit touchdowns. Peyton Hillis gave life back to a desperate fan base and caught that little lightning in a bottle that caught America's attention. After his electric season, Peyton Hillis was selected by the fans in a tournament-style bracket to determine the cover of Madden. He won over Michael Vick, being the strangest addition to the players that have been on the Madden covers in recent memory. This guy kind of represented Cleveland well, too, and would do whatever it took to help his football team win. Or at least, that's what we thought. Peyton Hillis made it clear that he was ready to be paid, and I don't blame him since he was making less than $1 million a year at the time, and he was the only productivity the team had. And then it all started. The beginning of the next season, Peyton Hillis misses the first game because of strep throat, which for a guy as tough as he is, missing a game for strep throat was apparently odd. And at a time when the Browns were desperate for needing him to return, they needed him to play. Eventually, when he would return, he was very limited, dealing with an apparent lingering hamstring problem. Pretty obvious that Hillis was protesting the Browns. After a contract dispute that never came to play out, Hillis would never play again for the Browns. Hillis's career takes a massive turn, and it just nosedives, and he never comes back from the amazing one-year season he had. He never came close to what he did in 2010, and after just 3 mediocre seasons, he was out of the league entirely. We see often a lot of players that start to lose their fire during contract negotiations. It's really amazing to think of how good he would have been if he maybe got his money, But I guess we'll never know. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Why don't you click the button to subscribe to hear more from us later down the line, and we hope to see you next time.